Yo, what's up everybody? Welcome back to High Revolution Bowling. And in today's video, I will be showing you how to increase your score with none other than spare shooting. Yes, spare shooting is one of the biggest things that will set you apart from the rest of the field. If you're making your spares and you're picking splits, then your scores are going to rise and they will add up and you will cash or win your tournaments. So I'm going to be bringing you 5 tips to get better at your spares. And as a little bit of a, I guess, history lesson, not really, but as a history lesson, guys, if you're leaving and averaging 1 open per game and it's a makeable spare, you make that spare once per game and your score goes up by 10 pins. Your average will increase 10 pins by just making that 1 makeable spare that you might have missed, whether it be that 10 pin, that 7 pin, 4 pin, 6 pin, whatever the case may be, guys. Spare shooting is important. So guys, for tip number 1, it is going to be pretty plain and simple. It is going to be creating a system. You want to create a system for all of your spares, whether it be your corner pins or your middle pins, because those systems will carry over into different houses and in tournaments and different oil patterns. That way you don't have to just go out there and guess with your strike ball and hook at it. You can confidently pick up your spare ball no matter what the center, no matter the pattern, and pick up the spare. So for example, we're down in the lanes now and I'm gonna show you my system because I have a system for my 7 pins that works just about anywhere. So my system is, I'm always gonna stand somewhere in this 35 range. That way if I accidentally drift left or right, I'm still guaranteed to be well on this half of the lane, because for my corner pins, I want the ball to cover as much lane as possible because that gives me the biggest miss window in order to still pick that corner pin. So for my 7 pins, I typically stand somewhere around 35. And I try to get it to about 22 or 23 at the arrows. And just like that, pluck the 7 clean off the rack. Because I had my system in place, I missed it left. And fortunately, because I'm covering so much lane, I still was able to pluck that 7 pin clean off the rack. So for something else, which a lot of people struggle with, is when they get on different houses and different patterns and they leave a spare on the right side of the lane or the opposite side, because I'm a lefty, they will try to guess and just hook at it. Well, if you have a system in place for those pins on the opposite side of the lane as you won't have to worry too much about just guessing, because your plastic ball is going to take that guess out of it. So my system I will show is, I typically want to be over middle arrow for 10 pins, because if I go too far left and I start crossing my body a lot, that crossing of my body is going to lead me to typically either yank it or not yank it enough, because it's changing so much of my original approach. Whereas if I just keep my line simpler, I don't have to change that much of my approach. So middle arrow, for me, I stand 15 or so. And just like that, I missed middle arrow a little bit to the left. And because I covered more lane than just throwing straight at it, I was still able to hit it. All right, guys, and tip number, I forgot to mention that the last tip for crossing over spares was tip number 2. Tip number 3 is you need to have a plastic ball. Unless you're EJ Tackett himself, you need to have a plastic ball, because the plastic ball is just going to take the lane and the ball out of play. Yes, it still may hook depending on where you're bowling. If you bowl on wood, plastic balls tend to hook a little bit earlier on real wood than synthetic, but the plastic ball is going to take the lane out of play and make your lines a lot straighter than reactive. And tip number 4 is going to be, with said plastic ball, I have the DV8 Visible here. I know that when I'm shooting my spares, I don't want this thing to hook, even if I'm shooting across my body, because if my spare ball is hooking, it's not doing a good job being my spare ball. So in order to make sure that it doesn't hook, here at High Rev Bowling, we teach high revs here. So if you should have a high rev rate and you're struggling to get your ball to not hook, not only do you need a plastic ball, but you need to learn how to dead your wrist out. You need to learn to flatten that wrist at your release, because in my strike ball, for example, my strike ball, I'm gonna have here, And when I bring back, I'm going to be a little bit cupped for my strike ball to stay underneath it and rotate around it. But when I shoot my spares, I almost want to come straight back, and I want to really over exaggerate being end over end with this spare ball. Super end over end. So I'm going to shoot at a 7-pin. I may not hit it, but I'm going to shoot at it. And I may not hit it because I'm about to over exaggerate end over end roll. I almost want to be rolling over my finger holes. As you can see, the logos of the ball the logos are literally going on top of one another. That's how I know that I threw that ball end over end. So now that my ball's back, I can show you finger holes here. So if the logos were doing this, that means I literally just rolled this ball straight over the finger holes, which is exactly what we want when we're shooting our spares on the left side of the lane. We need to learn how to dead wrist. So I'm gonna replicate that same feeling on the right side of the lane. So as you can see, there's still a little bit of rotation there because I messed up and I'm not the greatest at fully dead wristing on, opposite side spares, but you can still see the logos were almost still rolling on top of each other, which means that I was almost dead flat, creating a straight line with that ball. And guys, of course, my 5th and final tip for better spare shooting is going to be to practice, because there is no tip like practice. I can sit here and tell you all I want about the proper things to do, especially as a two-hander and as a high ref player, but it doesn't apply unless you practice. I still miss a lot of my spares. I miss 7-pins all the time. I miss 2-4-7s all the time. I miss a lot of combo spares, but it's because I myself can acknowledge that I don't practice them enough. These guys who are shooting 95% on TV are shooting 95% because they'll go in the bowling alley some days and only practice a certain pin or a certain combo of spares that they know they've been missing. Like, I'm not gonna go practice 9 pins because I don't leave 9 pins that much. That's just, it's rare that I'm gonna leave a 9-pin. But like a 7-pin, I leave all the time. So naturally, it feels right to practice a 7-pin. But yeah, guys, practice, practice, practice. And that was 5 tips on how to increase your spare shooting and increase your scores. I will see y'all in the next one.